Hello, and welcome to another Just Mayhem. This is going to be part 2 of the depression series, and I'm trying something a little bit different, so let me know how you like it. I wanted to be able to be a little more intimate in the conversation, and so as you can see, I moved the microphone very close, so I'm not yelling at it. I think that behooves the topic a little bit more that we're going to be discussing. And as you notice, this is something I'm doing in one take. The reason for that is it's very difficult to talk about. So if I script it, I'm going to either lose the emotion, lose the actual feeling, or just end up scrapping things maybe I don't feel like talking about. So if I do it this way, it kind of forces me to get to the more uncomfortable aspects. So what I wanted to talk about today is the mask, as I'm going to call it. And there's really 2 parts of the mask, that how I see it. I have the mask I wear, and this is something I think is fairly normal for most people. You go to work, you put on a show, a character, to keep your job. You don't say everything you want to say, and that's perfectly fine. What I want to talk about more today is how that mask can become a crutch, and the double-sided blade that it can become for you, and what it did to me. So, I'll start with the mask that I show everyone else, and then I want to go into how that mask reflects back on me like a mirror mask, and the damage I feel that can cause. So a lot of times, I put on a mask. Well, I always put on a mask, and that's generally to protect myself from getting hurt, protect myself against others, but therein lies some of the problem. You put on that mask too often, then who is the real you? The fear of showing who I am or admitting my own weakness causes me to put on that protective layer. And this is where the depression and that black hole hides, right? The people around me, they don't see it because I'm hiding it from them. I don't want them to see it. I don't want them to know that I have that weakness. And this also stems from that deep down feeling a lot of times especially when it gets really bad. I mean, if you have a bad day, sometimes you can talk to somebody and say, hey man, I had a bad day. That's okay. But when the black pit beast grabs a hold of you, the most common thought that I feel is, why would I want to bother somebody else with my problem? And by putting on a nice strong mask, I can usually hide that problem. But now how does that help me? It lets me almost dwell in feeling sorry for myself, wallow in that pain and that misery. And at the same point, I'm not getting the help I need. And the people that might care about me, they don't know I need the help because I'm too selfish to let them see it. And yes, it is selfish at the end of the day. To me, depression is a very selfish feeling. And again, this is coming from somebody who feels it because you're feeling sorry for yourself. And it's perfectly normal. But at the same point, when I have those days that I struggle to find a reason to move forward, I don't want to put that burden on somebody else because I feel terrible. So what do? You create that outward effect of, okay, I'm happy, I'm positive. My biggest mask and facade is that I'm a very outgoing, extroverted person. And I would say that almost everyone who doesn't know me would say that I'm, an extroverted, outgoing person, but that's not me at all. It's completely a facade of who I am. It's an act, a play, a show to give that perception of what I've been ingrained to believe I need to do in order to live a normal life in society or at work. And part of the problem with that is every second of the day, I feel like I'm acting, and I feel like those people don't really like me. They don't know who I am. And that makes depression worse, because when you're, when I feel that darkness creep up on me and I feel that pain just overtake, it's like, well, who are my friends? Who are my real friends? Do they even like me? Or do they like the mask and facade that I put on? And that's a very different concept to deal with. Now, there are, I would say, my good friends that I have that are close to me. There are people who instantly saw right through the mask. And, that to me really shocked me. I had a friend one time, out of the blue, he just said to me something that made me understand. He instantly saw right through the facade and character of who I was portraying to be and saw the real me. And that really touched me. But that's also something that helped build upon what I'm trying to explain now is maybe if you're dealing with that depression like me, maybe you don't need the mask as much as you think. Maybe expose more of who the real you is. Now, if you're on camera doing something, that's okay. Like my movie reviews, I keep it, it's me, it's real, but I keep it extremely high energy. It's kind of that's what I wanted, that's what I like to do with those. But in your everyday life, you need to let you be out there, because you need to live life as who you are, accept who you are, love who you are. Because without that, if in my case, I created a different person, a different character that I thought people wanted to like, all that did was make me feel less and make me feel more hurt and cause my depression to be tenfold worse and pile upon and upon and upon itself, because no matter how many friends I made, no matter how many successes I achieved, it wasn't me. It was this other person. And the me still wasn't very good. And that is not productive at all. And this is, again, why I want to talk about this, because depression is a very serious issue, and it's not something that is talked about or dealt with at all. Popping on medication after medication, whatever. That masks it, right? It doesn't fix it. And I think the point is we have to deal with it at a very basic level and understand how we're enabling ourselves, how other situations enable us, and fight those and come up with new tactics. But the bottom line is, no matter how much you hide it, it's still going to be there within you. And a mask is strictly something you lay over yourself. It's not helping anything. And it's only protecting you from being who you are. So what I started doing, again, keep in mind, I still use the mask for work. In certain situations, it's perfectly fine. But it has to be controlled. It can't be something that overtakes who you really are. You have to embrace the things that you love, the things you enjoy doing, and let that be part of your personality. Don't hide that. Don't hide that from your friends, so they really are your friends, and those people appreciate you. And you're not sitting around wondering like, do they like me, or do they like the facade of who I am, or do they like what I might be able to do for them, or do they like the character I play on TV? And this is really important, because it's not a matter of making friends or whatnot. It's a matter of loving yourself enough to put yourself out there. So I suggest doing that. I started really doing that. And then the first time I was able to do that, I started to make real, meaningful relationships, deeper relationships, more intimate relationships, not in a sexual way, of course, but very much more stronger bonds. And I felt like those friendships and those bonds were really about me, and they really came into me and made me appreciate that, hey, maybe I am a good friend, a good brother, a good husband, a good son. Whatever it may be, it really made a difference instead of constantly hiding behind a facade of something that isn't real. So, I'm curious if you all use that same type of mask technique, and please share with me. I'd like to hear about it. So, I'm going back on the problem, discuss some of it. The problem also I had was that mask reflecting back on me, and it became almost like like an echo chamber that was constantly telling me that's who I had to be. And when I would look out for that approval, like, does this person really like me? Do these people really appreciate what I do? All I would see was the mirror-like reflection of that mask coming back at me, and it wasn't me. And that really drove me down. It basically had me in a situation where I was, hanging on the edge of the pit, reaching for someone to help, and there was no one there to help. And this gets where I talked about in the last video. If you need help, call someone, talk to someone, but you don't want to, really. I mean, I don't know about you, but me, generally, the worse it gets, the less likely I am to talk to anybody, let alone call them. I was in a situation once where it was really bad, and I had a good excuse. It was a bad time. I didn't want to wake up anybody. Didn't want to bother them with my troubles. Why would my annoying, pathetic whining and griping, why would I want to wake them up and bother them? Right? Well, it's utterly ridiculous, when I say it now, because I'm not in one of those stages. Now, at that time, for whatever reason, I happened to text someone, and they happened to get back to me. I didn't text them about this, but for whatever reason, they instinctively understood, and we talked. It was a text message. But it helped. It meant a lot to me. Now, I want to say this because there are never believe that someone doesn't want to talk to you. Trust me, they do. I had a situation. A couple people know about this, but this is not really public knowledge. My younger brother had called, and he was talking to somebody else at my house, and I had to go. I was going to the movies that night, and I'm like, I'll call you back. I'll talk later. And later that evening, he was no longer with us. And for me, it's one of the biggest regrets of my life that I didn't talk to him at that moment. And I'm sure he sat there thinking, well, he's got to go to the movies. He doesn't have time to talk to me. I don't want to bother him. Right? I'm sure a couple hours later thought the same thing. But why would he bother to call? Might wake me up, might trouble me. And I can tell you, being on the other end of that, nothing could be further from the truth. There would be no trouble for me at all. If I were to say one thing that was the biggest regret of my life, it would be that. So when we are wallowing in our own self-pity, stop, reach out to someone. Maybe someone really isn't available. Reach out to another person. Because there's someone out there who either has experienced what you're having right now, or they care enough about you to listen anyway. And I mentioned briefly in a situation that I had where I actually did reach out to someone and they weren't available. And in this particular situation, it kind of hurt me. But I didn't explain to them why or anything else. But I lucked out and someone else happened to get a hold of me right at the same time. So my advice there is, reach out to someone you really trust and bear in mind, as my friend said to me, if someone reaches out to you, understand how much you really mean to them, how important you are in their life, and how much you mean to them. Understand that. Because if someone can gather the strength to reach out to you when they're fighting the pit of despair, you have no idea how much that means. They are putting you on a very special level. So believe that. And when you're experiencing that, know there is someone out there that will listen to you and that wants to help you. And never be so selfish as to hold that back and not share that burden with someone who cares and let them alleviate it. Because trust me, they want to hear it. The last thing they want to do is know that they might have been able to help you and couldn't. For all you know, they've had the same exact feeling and they can talk it through with you and give you good ideas of how to deal with that. And sometimes we don't know what's hitting us. It could have been a trigger that we don't even recognize. It could just be a day you wake up and feel like crap. But talk about it. We're all going to go through different things in our life, and they're going to hit us hard. And the most important thing is not closing yourself off and not hiding behind something you aren't or someone who you aren't. Be who you want to be, and let yourself be loved by others. Don't hide behind that, ever. Don't be afraid that if you show your real self, your friends aren't going to like you. And there's a couple reasons to that. Because if they don't, well, they're not really your friends. That's always true. And I'll say, in life, you're not going to have 100 great friends. It's not real, right? That's never true. You got a couple really good friends. That's amazing. You're always going to have some family too. But whatever you have, know that it's you that those people care about, and that it's you that they like and respect. So getting back to the concept of the mask. So my idea and what I've been doing is I wear a very light mask. Think of it as like a Venetian. You put it on and take it off. I put it on for a job. But it's only a little one, just maybe my eyes. So it's only a toned down version of me. It's not masking who I am. And this is something I really dealt with for many years, where the mask was so strong, I was miserable. Finding a motivation just to exist each day was horrible. And very recently, I found a way to completely destroy that mask. And it's just done wonders. I feel like a 10,000 ton weight has been lifted off. So, focus on that. Don't be afraid of who you are, ever. You've got to put yourself out there, because if you do that, you're going to find really what you like, you'll find the job you really enjoy, the partner you really enjoy, the friends you really enjoy. You will. And that's, it can be a journey. And it's sometimes, again, damn it, you can sit down and just, feel sorry for yourself. But that's not the way to do it. You've got to do that. Exercise, really sit down and think, what do I enjoy in life? Who am I? And remold that mask to only be something you use in certain situations, like at your job, so you don't get fired. You don't want to tell your boss to fuck off, right? That's a mask, and that's okay. But when you're in your personal life, don't be that mask. Be you. And understand who you really are, because if you can love yourself, it's going to make it easier to fight back when that darkness encroaches upon you. And most importantly, don't be selfish. Share what's troubling you with those who care, and find a way to work it out and change your life to get rid of the things that are dragging you down, because sometimes they're impossible to figure out. I'll go into that maybe to some other extent, but I suffered for, I want to say, several years after one triggering event, but I couldn't figure out what exactly was causing it. And I just kept spiraling downward and downward and downward. And, take that assessment of yourself, but utilize your support network to talk about it and figure it out. Because if you can figure out who you really are, what you really enjoy, what really drives you up and down, you're going to be able to control that and fashion a manageable mask that's not hiding who you are and not covering who you are and not telling you. Like my example of the mirror mask, it's not telling you you're insignificant or you're not achieving something you can't be. So, okay, we'll wrap this up for now. I don't know. These are kind of stream of consciousness a bit. But again, it's the only way I think I can talk about some of the more difficult subjects. So let me know some areas maybe you'd like me to go into a little bit deeper. Let me know your experiences with this. Let's share them. I think it's good conversation and very cathartic maybe to release that. And always remember, you're never going to be insignificant. So don't be afraid to trouble or bother someone. Let them know how you're feeling, okay? So we'll pick up with this next time with some topics, wherever. Suggest what you'd like, where we'd like to go. I can talk about some other very isolated scenarios of my own. Or maybe we can talk about some other exercises that I've tried to do to fight it, because I believe I've gotten much better. At least now I always know when it's happening and can control it. But it's taken a very long time. So, usual, like, subscribe, check out Patreon. But anyway, I hope you all enjoy this and find this useful in your lives. And please let me know what you think. We'll see you here next time.